Welcome to the first session of our webinar series that we're super pumped about doing this winter. This is the kickoff session called Recruiting in 2022, a hot topic. And we're going to dive into finding the employees that you need to grow or sustain the business as you move forward through the year and the upcoming years. So there's still some folks joining. Despite that, I was a few minutes late getting the webinar started. You got to hit the start button. Who knew? So I will kick things off, I think, and as they come in, they can kind of catch up. But so thank you so much for spending the time here today with us. We're going to cover a lot of ground in a short time. So let's dive in. So many of you may have met me before, and I've had the pleasure of meeting you before. My name is Corey Halstead. I'll be the host for today. Why me? I guess a lifelong journey in the landscape and outdoor living industry, one way, shape, or form. I guess 25 years now. So I was born into the business like many. My uncle owned a commercial maintenance business. So from the time that I was 14, every summer off from school and day off from school, I was behind a mower learning the business. So I've done some speaking for associations. So maybe some folks have seen me at these different events and software events and things like that. But really all this sums up into that the advice or the information that we're going to be revealing and sharing in these webinars is all industry specific stuff. We've tested it and tested again. It is a lot of the same strategies that drive measurable results for our clients year in and year out, of which are 100% in the landscape and outdoor living industries. Particularly the recruiting, as in today's topic, has been something we've been heavily invested in for the last few years, and even more heavily in the last 7 or 8 months with the launch of Crew Recruiter. So I am the co-owner with my wife, Anna, of Halstead Media and Crew Recruiter. So that is about me. Let's dive in a little bit so I can get a little bit of context about who's on the call, and maybe I can steer things a little bit in that way, shape, or form. So I'm going to rock a little poll here to get us started. What is the one service you're looking to grow most in 2022? So you should see a little screen pop up on your screen, and you can select. I know that maybe this might be difficult to choose only one. But if you had to choose one, what would it be? And then again, I can maybe steer some things in that regard. It'll at least give us a context. And then I'll share these results too, so everybody kind of understands. You can make them anonymous if you wish. No worries there. All right, so we got 17. Cool. We got a bunch of construction, outdoor living stuff. I'll do a couple more seconds here for everybody to get a last minute vote in there if they want to do it. Awesome. Okay, so I will end that guy and I will share some results with you. So you should see what I'm seeing now, which is pretty cool stuff. So great majority of us want to be growing our landscape construction, hardscapes, sawscapes, outdoor living environments, a little bit of residential ground maintenance, pools, and lawn care programs. All right, cool. Nobody's looking to grow snow. I don't blame you. All right, cool. That helps me. All right, so great majority is construction. This is fantastic and a fantastic topic for this. All right, cool. So let me drag this guy back over there. So with that, we can understand that in order to make those crews run in order to build the projects we want to, and to build our brands around and be proud of, and push the industry and our body of work forward, we need to prioritize talent development, recruiting, and hiring as a major, if not the main focus of the next few years to overcome the challenges that we have in front of us. So today we're going to do we're going to break this talk into 4 main sections. We're going to kick off with a very short highlight about what we're in. What is this situation all about? How we think about it as we work with other consultants in the industry, just to get a little level set about where we're at and how we think about it. Then we're going to go into the meat and potatoes of things about how we view and how we think the strategies that have been being used in the industry up until now have been a little bit flawed, and why we think that recruiting is actually marketing, and how we're going to explore those systems. Then we're going to dive into attracting candidates, right? How do we do that? How do we target them? How do we bring them into our company envelope, if you will, and get them to know about us and bring them down the funnel? And then we're going to finalize things with a simplify and automate topic, which is about how do we streamline the actual process of recruiting so that it takes less man hours from your team, and it does things quicker and easily and more automated throughout the whole process. So that is today's talk. Let's dive in without further ado. We are going to kick into the labor situation. So it's a perfect storm, right? Everybody on the call has experienced this, and it's a major, major, major challenge. I talk more about this challenge than pretty much anything else on any call that I have nowadays. So how did this happen? We see it as a couple of things, right? A declining interest in trades overall in the US in particular. And that is on the backbone of the college explosion of that is the quote right way to do things. So we really need to bring trades back into the spotlight, if you will. There's been a real lack of focus, if we're doing real talk, on training and talent in the industry, not just from my current experiences with the companies that I see inside of, but also my past ones, personal experiences about how companies, and listen, I'm going to say companies and how we and things like that, the industry, obviously that's a blanket term, and there's companies that are doing things amazingly better than that. So I understand that, but it might be a little bit more blanket talk. So I think we have an opportunity to do more training and talent development. Certainly the visa policy changes for the folks that have relied on those programs for years have made things incredibly difficult, if not impossible, in terms of getting guys from that source. And then we have the COVID layered on top, right? So the industry exploded, demand is through the roof, which basically just shined spotlights on the holes that were already there in terms of our labor problems. And then on top of that, a lot of the workforce has changed the way they feel about working, or how they want to work, or how much they want to work, also as a result of COVID. So all of these things together have definitely created the perfect storm. And there's some new stuff that goes along with that as well, right? So some of those other things have happened in the past throughout history, ups and downs, but we do have some new ones as well. Which this is a big one that I hear all the time about folks maybe just not wanting to get back to work so fast, or maybe at all in the same shape or form that they used to do it. So this is a huge challenge, right? How do we overcome this sort of data where we can actually say, maybe half of the workforce isn't all that eager to go back out, right? And then the great resignation, of course. So this one is interesting because in certain ways, we are using this to our advantage. So one thing that has happened with this is that maybe our office folks realize they don't want to sit inside the office all day. So we can spin this one, but it's certainly another challenge about how folks are quitting at near record rates. So that's sort of the perfect storm, right? And then how do we attack this problem to begin solving it? It is certainly not a one-pronged approach that's going to make things happen. And we're involved in a lot of this stuff across many different associations and the work that we do at Halstead and Crew Recruiter. So that is an insight, I guess, that is great for us to have. But skilled trades versus the college bubble, we're certainly going to need to start to talk about that from a skilled trades spotlight, so to speak. Tell the stories of why these things are good careers, why people can build lives and families and all of that stuff around these positions. But that's sort of a bigger topic, right? And then even within the skilled trades, landscape and hardscape work is often not even put on the map when we're talking about skilled trades, right? Plumbing, electrician, all of these things are up at the top. And then, oh yeah, maybe landscaping. So that is the effort that is being done on the association level and organizational level, which is great. So that's going to help this problem, but it's going to be a little more long-term. We need to bring educate the youth about the opportunities. And then these last three are what we're going to talk about today mostly, which is how do we adopt technology to help us do things faster and more efficiently, which is going to be a part of the solution for sure. How do we improve our training programs within our companies and within our industry as a whole? And then how do we improve our recruitment strategies, which is going to be obviously the main focus of today's talk. So that is how we see the problem being solved for, or at least starting to go in the right direction. But we're certainly going to have to do something different if we're going to be able to make headway, right? We've gotten to this situation. Now, how do we change our approach and offer new solutions to solve the problem and do it relatively quickly so that we can save our businesses and our industry long term? And if we are open to that idea of doing things differently, then it's time probably for some real talk about how do we look inward on our role. And I say our in terms of the industry and the companies within it, our role in the problem, right? It's very easy to sit back and blame all of that data and say the labor crisis or no one wants to work. But the real fact is that very, 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 very few companies in the industry across the country are doing proper recruiting strategies to even be able to say, I've tried everything and nobody wants to work, right? So first we got to be able to do that, right? On-off approach to recruiting has to stop in our opinion. Launching ads in February for a few guys or whatever the guys we need and then turning them off for the rest of the year is not going to build a team long-term anymore in this environment. There is not enough time or money dedicated to the problem. So this is changing just based on the fact that something like this can happen today, this event, and all of the other interests that we're seeing. Low wages is being tackled a lot. I'm having a lot of conversations where people are telling me that they are tackling this one. Not an easy one for sure, but there are a lot of good people out there that could certainly run crews and grow companies for ownership that aren't making enough money to make this a career option. Jobs versus careers along that same point. We have to have career opportunities for these folks. Lack of recruiting systems, which we're hopefully going to change today and in the next year. And then deficiencies in hiring and training that we've talked about. So if we're open to the idea that we could be a part of this problem and how do we do it, then we can start to move forward into the solution. Okay, so next poll. What would you say currently? Would you say currently that you have an effective recruiting strategy? So a little pulse here about whether or not we think that is effective. So let's see. You can go, like I said, you can certainly be anonymous on this if you wish. No worries. Just a matter of getting a little pulse. All right. So we got the greater majority of everybody that has participated. A couple last ones coming in here, and two definite clear winners. I'll give it another 6 seconds here. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. So I will end the poll and I will share some results with you folks too. So basically split down the middle between two choices. No, we have no real strategy to find the people we need. And kind of, we have some elements, but we need to complete the efforts. So that is what my research showed in the development of Career Recruiter and the work that we do at Halstead. So I am super pumped that echoes that as well. So then we're all on the same page, right? We have to develop the proper systems to find the people that we want, and we have to make it a priority. So fantastic, all on the same page. Okay, so when we talk about recruiting, how does that relate to marketing, and why, I guess is a better question, does it relate to marketing? Why is recruiting marketing? Basically, we can go into a whole long thing, but if you do proper digital marketing, consumer facing marketing, then you understand that everything has changed with the internet and all of that. So if we're going to find people, whether it be a high-end consumer for a design build project, or the next rock star employee that's going to run crews for you, or just be a laborer in the field that does things correctly and has pride, the tools that we use, I'm going to show you, are pretty much the same across the board. So when we change our mindset about recruiting and we start to think about it the same importance as our marketing and along the same lines, then we start to realize that we must think bigger than open jobs, right? We have these jobs over here and I need to fill those jobs immediately. That is short-term thinking rather than mid and long-term thinking, which, as I'm sure many of you have experienced in other elements of life and business, it usually doesn't end finishing in a good spot. So how do we get more long-term? We start to realize that we need to not attract talent to these 1 or 2 or 9 jobs or whatever it is, depending on the size of your company, but we need to attract them to your company as a whole. Right? We need to inspire them. We need to show them that you are a place of value to work for and that it's interesting. And we, unfortunately, we hold the burden of doing that, not just for your individual company, but also for the industry as a whole. Because if in this market, we're going to not be just taking people that are sitting around on job boards, but we're going to need to inspire them from other industries that have consistent skill sets and things like that. And we're also going to need to get a little bit more cutthroat about where we're finding the talent, right? So when we think about that, we think, okay, now I understand across all of these channels that these people that we are trying to reach and inspire spend their time. That is what I need to do. It is a bigger picture about making XYZ landscaping a good career path. So when we challenge that mindset, we realize, in order to do that, we have to change the model in which we use to do it, right? So if we look at this, and this is could be spent an hour on by itself, but basically this is old school or traditional recruiting down on the bottom. I don't say that in a negative way. There's still an amazing place for it. It's still part of your recruiting strategy. But I do believe in my heart that there is a lot of traditional or old school recruiting that is being offered to our industry, to what I still consider my industry, the landscape and outdoor living industry, that is flawed in its very strategy. And I am hoping that we can change that and start to really drive some results. So down on the bottom from the application process, we are going to post a job on a job board, get applicants, rate them, put them through a selection process, and manage the hiring of that employee to our company. That is traditional HR and recruiting, right? We are talking about flipping into recruitment marketing. So every time that you hear recruiting or employees or talent development, I want you to think recruitment marketing. And that is the understanding that somebody that is working for another company right now may be happy right now, but in 2 months, after seeing content about your company and what you offer and maybe the projects that you build that are more exciting than the company that he works for or she works for now, that is the awareness stage, right? They're starting to understand, oh, okay, might be a better spot for me right here in my market, right? And then I'm going to start to consider that, right? I'm going to say, maybe this element of that is better than what I have now. And then I might become interested in that. And then I'm going to kick into an application process. So largely in the great majority percentage of the industry has ignored the top of that funnel for way, way, way too long. And that is what we're talking about today, recruitment marketing. When we talk about the bottom of that funnel, traditional recruiting and HR, we also have solutions there that are not being deployed at scale. And many, many companies are not leveraging the automation and technology, software and practices that can speed that up and make that work much lighter. And that all comes from digital marketing as well, right? If you can send an automated email campaign based on how people have clicked and engaged with your emails, then you can, guess what, do the same thing with your recruiting technology efforts. So this is really what we're talking about today, the entire recruitment process problem. And it looks a little familiar, doesn't it? For my folks that have done marketing on the call for their consumer facing efforts, whether that's, paid social or whatever it may be, these tools in the toolbox that we are going to use and that we do use currently to find the talent that is going to power your company. We use the same tools to find those people, because guess what? If we need to find somebody, get their attention, give them a message that is compelling, and put them through an experience digitally to get them to act, then that is marketing, because that is exactly what happens on the consumer side of your business. If we need a new lawn care program customer to make a route more dense in a particular area, very, very, very hyper located geographical area, we are going to use targeted ads and search and social. If we are going to find somebody to build that wants to purchase the next backyard outdoor living with a fireplace and walls and pavers, we need to understand who that person is, make sure they have disposable income. The same is true for our recruiting efforts, right? So we got brand and messaging, we got content marketing across the journey to inspire that person that maybe your company is better. We have targeted ads across search and social. We have automation technology to drive them through the recruiting process. And of course, the end all be all to know what is working and what is not, data and analytics. So the sweet spot, in our opinion, and the way that we approach this is the two mash up together, and that is recruitment marketing. So if this is not a part of the current strategy, I argue that we cannot say people don't want to work, or I'm not getting any applicants. I got that one a lot last year. I just didn't even get any applicants last year. Well, what did you do to get applicants? Well, I posted on a job board. Okay, well, we can't say that we've checked that box and we've had poor results if we aren't going to do more than that, right? And really, it's about an entire company. So you have two brands, which we're going to look at in a second, but it's a different type of job market now, especially as we start to encourage and employ the younger generations. They care about the companies that they work for, perhaps a little bit differently than even my generation or older did. Okay. So we change our mind frame, we enter recruitment marketing, we understand that it's a lot more than job boards that this is going to take. And if we're not willing to do that, then let's please stop saying that we have tried and nothing works and people don't want to work. We have to put our best foot forward to grow the industry and our businesses. So how do we attract candidates? Do you currently use social media to attract possible talent to your company? Let's launch this bad boy and go. Do you currently use paid social advertising for recruiting? Yes, we run social ads for recruiting year round. Yes, we run social ads at certain times throughout the year. No, we've never tried it. And yes, I have, but it didn't work. This really helps us get a heartbeat. My obsession and then Halstead's obsession in turn is to really crack the code on what is working and what is not, and to really use information, industry consultants and information to make decisions to change problems. So this is super helpful. So wow, pretty well split across all of our things here. I will give another 6 seconds or so in the effort of keeping us moving. All right, let's end this bad boy and share it. Okay, so 23% or three of us said, yes, we run social ads recruiting year round. That is amazing. In my opinion, that number will have to be much greater if we're going to build teams that we can really sustain our companies on. But it is amazing to see that 23% of us are doing that. That's awesome. Certain times of the year. So if we add those two together, we're over 50% of people running social. So that is amazing. Never tried it before. And then some that tried it and didn't work. I would have guessed that the tried it and didn't work number would be higher. So that is an amazing poll for me. And that helps me understand that today's talk is even going to be more relevant for more than half of the folks on the call. Stop sharing. All right, cool. Thank you for that insight. All right. So if we understand how we are going to get new employees for our companies today, then I bet that number will change. That social number will change for many on the call over the course of the next hour and into next year. So we really need to understand that we are doing passive recruiting, right? The idea that a large majority of companies are doing, which is I have 5 openings, I am going to post them on job boards and sit back and wait, is ludicrous. It is a ludicrous strategy. Is it part of the strategy? Yes, you have to be everywhere. So yes, it is. But to think that that's going to drive results is crazy in today's world. So the best candidates already have jobs, right? We are in a tightened labor market. Our best talent, who, let's be honest, right? If we want to build leading companies, then we need leading talent, right? We can't just take and skim off the bottom chunk of talent and expect to grow our companies that way. Yes, we can uptrain them. Yes, we can find rock stars in that pool as well, but we have to understand that these folks already have a job. The unemployable will make up most of your applications if you choose to go that route, which is what exactly is happening to the large majority of companies, right? I put them out there, I didn't get any action, or the action I got was with a bunch of people that I would never hire. Well, yeah, because you're choosing the people that are sitting around all day on job boards instead of being out there working. So in order to inspire and reach and persuade great talent that works for a great company, you need a real strategy and consistent execution to win. It's not rocket science, but it is difficult to understand until you realize the mindset change, until you realize passive recruiting, right? Because when you understand passive recruiting, you understand that most job seekers are not looking urgently for jobs, right? So if we're passively searching, or we're not searching, how do we reach those people? Most of the time not going to be on a job board, right? Because they're living their life, they're working in their companies that they currently work in, and they're building their careers. So we need to show up in places that they spend their time outside of job searching, right? And one of the ways that we need to do that is by telling a compelling story and positioning our brand in a compelling way. This is the first step, right? So you now, I challenge you to think, if you are not already, thinking about the fact that you have 2 brands. You have 2 separate brands that work together, right? And this second one is called your employer brand. This is a very, a fundamental strategy within recruitment marketing. So you have your consumer-facing brand. We're shooting projects. We're doing video. We're showing those homeowners what you can build. We're putting that in a compelling way. We're explaining to them why they should choose you to build that job over somebody else. Why should they choose you for their lawn care program over XYZ down the street? Those things are all part of your brand that you stand for, consumer. Now you have your employer brand that we need to do the same thing for, right? Why would somebody that sees your company want to work for you? Right? So even if, and this is how you realize that this whole thing becomes into a system, even if you are running those paid ads and you are doing those recruiting efforts consistently, fantastic. But if we are not telling a compelling story to Joe, who is actually a super talented person who's running crews and designing and selling and doing whatever it is that we need them to do, they are not going to be inspired to make a change, right? Because changing a job is a big deal, and changing a career is an even bigger deal. So those are the challenges that we are up against. we have to win that battle or we won't win. And then we have to define our employee value proposition, which is basically, what are we going to say to this potential talent to get them to understand that you are a better fit? And that is, my friends, is about more than money. And that is in particularly the case as we employ younger and younger generations, which are going to power the future of the landscape industry, right? So these folks and folks that have kids on the call can probably attest to this. I see this day in and day out. It is about more than money for them. Certainly, we need to pay fairly, and we need to create careers that can sustain their lives and their families and all of those things. We certainly need to provide them the benefits that would go along with a real career that people would associate maybe more times than not with a college education, which is the other thing we need to change. We need to get a seat at the table and say, no, look, this is what we are paid and compensated for, and these are the benefits. And look, this is an awesome career path, right? Show them that there is education involved, there is training involved. They are constantly being coached by mentors, and there are promotions available to continue to grow their career, not just in the sake of money, but in knowledge and training and growth as a professional career. Culture is one that the industry is just at large is just starting to understand, but this is something that we spend a lot of time at Halstead in, and we need to quantify why we are a place that somebody would care. And that happens by teamwork and atmosphere. We need to create amazing places to work, right? So this is just like on your consumer facing efforts. I say this all the time. The best marketing in the world is not going to hide you from building crappy jobs and delivering crappy service. Eventually, and not too long off, the truth will come out when we're talking about digital. The truth will come out, and marketing will not overcome those things. The same is true for your recruiting efforts. If the product, which is your work environment and the benefits and your EVP, is not a good one, then you will not win long-term. So that is your employer brand. It's made up of a few different things, right? It's made up of that EVP. It's made up of a bunch of other things, one of which is your career page. Okay, so the careers page on the website is a critical element that most people that come to us do not have adequately installed and designed. So this has to be up and front and center, just as your consumer efforts. This is an example of a client of ours, amazing recruiter, and an example, I think, for many things in the industry in terms of growth and the way to do things. But it is linked in the main navigation of the site. There are major banners right on the homepage about working for us. These are kind of basics at this point, right? We should all be doing these things, but then we dive deeper into showing the culture, showing the workplace that we've created, the employer brand, the EVP, and employee testimonials. So if you are not getting testimonials, and honestly in video, in 2022, or did you do it last year, then we need to bump that up, because all of that content is going to fuel our efforts in terms of how we're going to attract people, which is your paid ads and your website and all of these things. So we have to have something to say, and that's why videos have become very, very critical along the way. So I hope that I have done this right, and that you can see. I'm not going to watch the whole thing here, and I hope that you can hear it. But I do want to show you just a touch of it.
The reason the company began was, like so many in the industry, as a young kid, just survival. They went from making a living to trying to make a difference in the lives of other people and motivate them to be the best they could be, whether they work here, whether they're customers, or whether they're just people who cross our paths.
Troy has always taught us to kind of think with the end in mind. The main goal is client orientated and getting the job done and transforming somebody's life through that.
If you look around here, you look at anything that says Troy Cog, you'll see the vivid vision. And you get a person like myself, and then other people that are in an organization that believe in that vivid vision and work every day to see if we can put that into action.
You know, the age-old saying of, teamwork makes the dream work is what Troy lives by, and that's what we try to accomplish here.
I'm proud for many things. But the most important is he supports all my dreams.
Troy used to show us this reverse org chart. So like the manager should be on the bottom. You know, the guys at the bottom of a regular org chart, they should be running the company. You know, and anything they need, the manager at the bottom should be stopping what they're doing and getting these guys what they need.
The vibe that I got when I started here was awesome. When I actually interviewed, I walked in here and I was completely shocked that this was even a landscape company. The building is beautiful. The people here are friendly, very friendly, and it's just a great company to work for.
There's a lot of opportunity, a lot of room to grow, a lot of room to teach people, a lot of room to.
All right, so I'll leave it at that. But what are some things that we've gotten out of this already, right? And I feel honored to work with Troy and Adam and the rest of that amazing team. They have taught us a ton, and they do so many things that are inspiring for the industry. So top-notch act. But look what we got out of this, right? I didn't even realize that this could be a landscaping company. We have to change the perception of the way that people think about this industry. And we have to change it, not just for the people that we're going to employ directly, but we have to change it for the older generations that are mothers and fathers and grandparents to children that are coming up into careers, right? So this is a goosebump video, I call it, right? So that's our goal when we're shooting video, is always to give goosebumps. I talk to Adam at Troy Cog all the time about this. This is a goosebump video. This is what somebody needs to feel and be inspired, right? What does that say? It says that I have a ton of opportunity. I have a great culture, and it's an amazing place to work, but it says it in an authentic way. So this is the culture video. This is a core component to recruiting today. It gets deployed on the website. It gets deployed in all of your social ads, which is huge. Okay, so that's part of your employer brand. That's an element of it, right? The next element of it is the offer itself, right? So we have positioned our company, sort of the product, if you will, in this equation, as something that is enticing and inspiring and willing and worthy of my attention as a potential hire. And now we need to package up the product itself, which is the job offer, right? So this is not a matter of let me write up this thing as fast as I possibly can and throw it to 15 job boards and see what sticks. This is understanding the type of talent that you want. Who is this person for this individual role? And when we understand that person, then we can understand how to target them and how to communicate with them, right? We need to understand that job descriptions are just like copy in an ad that is running to sell a design build project or a lawn care program or a new pool, right? If not more, because it is much, much easier, folks, to get a lead for an outdoor living space or a new lawn care program than it is to get employees to be interested. It is just a much harder thing to do, which is the other thing about expectations in the industry. It is just a hard thing to do that requires an amazing strategy and consistent work. And part of that is positioning the offer in a way that is compelling and testing that thing to make sure that we are resonating, right? We have to distribute that thing, that message, that job offer in the right places with the right targeting based on who it is that we're trying to get. Now, sometimes I get it, right? We just need bodies to be out there in terms of labor. That is, I get that. And there obviously is a place for changing this type of strategy as we need for that. But if we just stay and spend all of our time in that mentality, we will not attract the talent that you need to be a leader in the industry. So we've got employer branding, right? And we've got our videos and we've got our career pages, and we understand that our offer needs to be packaged up in a way that makes sense and resonates to the exact person. And then we need to find out how to distribute that message across the internet and other places to find these people, right? And I can promise you, after years of testing this stuff and testing it again and testing it again, it is a lot more than job boards. So that is first and foremost, right? So we got to get it out in the real world, and we have to be omnipresent, right? And laser targeted at the same time. So anywhere that we can get this message, we got to be there, but then also we got to have precision targeting on top of that. So real world, certainly site, trucks, yard signs, etc. Many folks do this now, which is fantastic. This is sort of goes into It's not leveraging digital so much, although, side note, any of this real world targeting or advertising of recruiting should all be tied back into what we're going to look at in a second, which is your technology that drives your recruiting, right? So if somebody is seeing this on the side of a truck or on a yard site sign, there should be a QR code on that piece of advertising that directs them back to the same digital tracking that we have for everything else, so that we can understand what is working and what is not. No different than if you're you're growing your lawn care business and you're doing direct mail. Not a single piece of direct mail should go out without some type of a tracking phone number and or URL, so that you can understand whether it's working. Same thing for offline efforts in recruiting, right? Job boards across the internet. Certainly, like I said, it's going to take more than that, but we have to be omnipresent. So large and niche, right? There are more and more industry specific job boards that are coming up by folks like NALP and ICPI that are doing a good job explaining the industry as a whole. It blows my mind how few people leverage these organizations' content. And because we've made some of it, I guess I'm a little biased, but I think it's there, and it's amazing to help convince parents that their children should get into this career path. It is there for us to use and take. Trust me, they want us to spread the word about this stuff. So go out there and use the niche job boards as well. Paid social and paid search is a key component that plugs into the recruiting strategy, right? Because remember, passive recruiting. We need to show up in the feeds of these people that we want to bring into our envelope. We have to show up in there because they're not actively looking, and we need to inspire them. So targeted paid social is critical. Search, certainly, because we need to be omnipresent, right? So we can purchase those keywords and rank at the top. We can have organic search, a component of our organic search strategy be in recruiting, and we should as well. Digital PR stuff. So let's think like associations, local sports teams, things like that. These things still work, right? This is about creating a place that is good to work at, which is giving back to the community. So if you're giving back to the community and you're creating a solid footprint within that community, then let's share that with people. That stuff resonates, right? And content, and more content. Basically, these videos that we're talking about, written articles about why it's important to work in this industry, not important, but why it's amazing to work in this industry. Content fuels the entire effort, just like it does with your consumer facing efforts. For any folks on the call that do that, they know that video and photos and written word is what powers all of the advertising. So when we think about that and we revisit our question about who's using social and are they using it consistently, this is how we create human connections. This is how we give the person on the other end goosebumps in a digital world. Right? So if the leading companies in the world are saying the recruiters are digital marketers, I think that we should go ahead and understand that that's probably the case for our industry as well. So content powers the whole thing, because remember, just like on the consumer facing side, many times they are going to see that first, right? So imagine that you have 100 people in a room and you get to say something to them about, why don't you come work for me at XYZ Landscaping? That is what you're doing with all of the messaging that you're putting out there. They are seeing that first. So it needs to be working them through that entire funnel, right? Why should they consider coming? All the way from the first time that they see you and they become aware, through the consideration, through the interest, and all the way through, in my opinion, on through the onboarding offer letter and first month of work at your company. That content powers the entire thing, because passive recruiting needs retargeting. Okay, so this is, again, recruitment marketing. Recruiting is marketing. If we are going to inspire somebody, we need to follow them through that journey. The way that we do that is by showing that rock star crew leader that first ad about what it is that you guys do. Maybe he gets interested in a simple thing like the video of that case study of the project that you built because it was a sick project and he wants to build projects like that, or she wants to build projects like that, sees the ad first. We can't stop there. We have to continue to market to that person and educate them about why XYZ Landscaping is where they want to be. So passive recruiting is about retargeting. And then of course we use the data to map return on investment, just like we do on the marketing side of the equation, right? We need to track campaigns. We need to dial in the most effective efforts offline and online. Like I was saying about the yard signs and the trucks and all of that. There's a way to tie that stuff all together so that you see literally in your source where that came from. This is dangerous. So I'll do a caveat, and that is that data is important, but it is not everything. So what I mean by that is, yes, maybe somebody came in through a Google ad, but then you retargeted them on social, and then it ended up being that they came and you hired them and they now are a rock star for you. There's many components of this system, but data has to start to tell some of the story. Okay. We're doing okay on time. I thought we might have some time for Q&A, but we likely will not, but let's see. I get passionate about this stuff and start talking. So, all right, the last section for today is simplify and automate. It is a core component of what is not being done at scale right now. And let's see what we got with our last poll question today. Do you currently use an application tracking system, which is referred to as an ATS for recruiting and hiring efforts at your company? Yes, we got it. Never heard of it. I've come across it before, but don't use it. And no, we use a mix of other tools like Google Sheets and Excel and things like that. All right, we're getting the hang of this poll thing now. We're up there above 70% quickly. All right, we got 2 people using ATS. That's fantastic. I think I'll do 5-second countdown. Why is it not letting me do that? There we go. Okay, and the poll and share the results. Okay, so majority have not heard of one until now. That's fantastic and to be expected. It's relatively new for our industry. Some have heard of it but not using it, and others use a bunch of tools. So 2 folks on the meeting today are using it. So fantastic. We have a huge opportunity. So let's dive into what that looks like. And why it's important. Okay, so in order to streamline our recruiting, here's what we saw when I started doing this research, over a year ago. I saw that all of the ads and the efforts that were being done were bringing applicants into companies, but then companies didn't have the proper structure and processes in place to properly manage those candidates through the process. What was happening was that possible amazing hires were literally falling through the cracks. And then they were coming back and saying, wow, I didn't get anybody from any of our efforts. And then we would say, well, hang on a second, you got 150 applicants. What happened to these ones? Oh, I didn't process that one, or that one fell through the cracks or whatever. So that was a core component of what we needed to change. And we did that, I think, amazingly successful with Crew Recruiter, which I'm so pumped about. But whether you use that or a different one, I do not care. I just am passionate about the system being in place. So an application tracking system is basically a customer relationship management system, or a CRM, but for recruiting. Okay, so it manages all positions, job descriptions, and posts. So you have a hub that you log into, and everybody has user access and all of that in your company. And you are creating the open positions, job descriptions, and posts. With Crew Recruiter, we do all of that for you. We manage the entire process, write job descriptions, load the software, do everything. But regardless, the ATS, the Crew Recruiter ATS, sits at the center, or your ATS sits at the center. All applicants are in one place, no matter the source. So if they scan a QR code on the side of a truck, they are going to end up in your ATS as well. If they click on a Facebook ad, an Instagram ad, a LinkedIn ad, if they come through search, if they come through organic search, if they come from an email, they're all ending up into your application tracking system so that nothing is lost and nothing falls through the cracks. You can hire as a team, meaning that it takes a team to hire traditionally, right? Especially as we grow our companies. So you have multiple star ratings and review stages, and you can organize the talent so that you are focused on the top talent and spending all of your time there instead of on folks that aren't going to be a good onboard. So that is an application tracking system and part of what it does as a core. The other thing that we decided, there are a ton of ATSs on the market, but we decided that one needed to be built specifically with some features that were specific to how you guys work and how you run your businesses and how the industry works, right? So what we saw was that a ton of time was being spent on folks that filled out applications. And if I could ask another raise of hands right now, if we were in person, I would, and I'm sure that almost all hands would go up, that many applicants apply but never respond because they are doing their due diligence of applying, but they don't actually want to work. Well, what if we could just get rid of all of those people and spend zero time on any of those people? That's what we said. So that's what you do. We send an automated SMS message. Yes, text messaging. Okay, so as all the other companies are calling and emailing and playing phone tag with people that are already, remember, already working out in the field, because that's what they do for a living, because you're going to steal them from that role or from another industry that often does the same thing. We are going to communicate them on their phone because that's where they are. So everything is text message driven in the ATS. It is going to send automated messages and email workflows. So just like folks, if you do email automation, you can understand how much this saves time and how quickly it allows you to respond, which is also the very, very, very important part. Every hour that goes by, or minute really, that goes by after an application decreases the possibility of, quote, closing or onboarding that new rockstar employee. So built right into the ATS is that. Real-time access to integrated calendars for interviews. So it's an entire hub, right? Unlimited candidate texting directly from the platform on your computer, and the office manager or the HR folks, or if it's a smaller company, you as the owner, right from your computer, you are directly texting all of those candidates, no limits on texting. And then as you grow this system, you can do digital offer letters, signatures, background checks, screenings, all directly integrated right into the system, so that all of the files and background checks, et cetera, are all in that potential hires file, if you will, or portal. Okay, so this is automating communication and saving time. Right? So basically, we need to get all those unqualified applicants or people that don't actually want to work. We need to get them out of the picture. We need to filter them out, but we need to do it without you spending time or your workforce spending time on doing it, right? So custom application forms with pre-screening questions, or knockout questions, as they're called in the HR world. So you need somebody with a CDL license. You need somebody with minimum 5 years experience. You need somebody that lives within a certain radius. Whatever these questions may be, they're built directly into your application form. And then if they answer the wrong question, they are put into a separate bucket that is a lower priority than those that don't. Okay, and then you're pre-screening. So let's take this. They fill out the application, they get an automated text message to their phone that says, "Thank you so much for applying." And we ask them a simple question. If they do not answer that question, they are tagged unresponsive and they are out of your workflow. This is one of the major things that separates Crew Recruiter and makes it an industry specific solution. Okay, so you are spending time on folks that are responsive and qualified. That way you are getting to the solution faster, to that hire faster. You can sort and filter these things by all sorts of different things so that you can manage them. And you can see in this screenshot, these are all your applicants from all your jobs from all over, right? And you're basically bubbling these to the top. 5 people in your company have reviewed things, and you have rated them 5-star, 3-star, and you understand what is happening, right? So all of this system goes together, and it basically is for folks that understand that people power businesses. And if we prioritize those people, then we will understand that we can grow our companies. Okay, thank you so much for your time. I think this thing's going to shut off, so I better speed up. We did not have time for Q&A, but please email me. I will also email out a summary of some of the questions that are typically asked, but there's my email. We can book a demo for Crew Recruiter if you're interested. If not, that is totally cool. I just hope that you got some value out of this in terms of how you're going to approach recruiting in the future. And I believe that if we all work together, we can do this. We can power our industry and continue its growth.